Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And it's generally not a good idea out there while you've got a major movie release coming up, or if you've got a major television show, or whatever it is that you've got coming up, generally to go out there and decide to spout and go out there and incise and, of course, upset over half of your potential customer base out there, boys and girls. And in an era nowadays that we live in where the culture is so hypersensitive to a lot of this kind of stuff out there, because a lot of the propaganda that's been going on throughout, especially in the entertainment industry out there, whether it be video games, whether it be movies and television shows and all this kind of stuff out there, a lot of fans are just overly sensitive to it. It's not back in the day where it's just like, oh, yeah, whatever, because they've used a lot of our favorite IPs out there as propaganda tools, as mouthpieces for their agenda, right? Whether it be Superman in the comics, whether it be some of the stuff that they've done with, of course, the Eternals from the absolute legend Jack Kirby. It's just one of those situations where they've used so many of our IPs out there to completely and totally push your agenda. So now when somebody out there, especially a major movie star for something like Wicked 2, and i.e. Ariana Grande, a person who I barely even knew existed before she decided to star in this movie out there, literally ends up deciding to go out there and not only just repeat and spout all the same spirit of the age talking points out there, but when you have a movie getting ready to release in such a hypersensitive time right now, well, we saw what happened with Rachel Zegler and Snow White and how much she upset the fan base. Now, given I don't think what Ariana Grande has put out there is exactly quite to that level, but it is definitely the start of something out there. And boys and girls, at a time right now where box office returns are already extremely low, the last thing you want to do is take any chances of alienating any of your customer base out there, especially the ones that have proven time and time again to be the actual driving force behind culture and making money. Because as you can see over here from thatparkplace.com, Ariana Grande picks a fight with Trump right as Wicked for Good is about to release. The White House responds with an epic takedown. And boys and girls, the worst part about this is it's not, well, there's a lot of really bad parts about it, but one of the ridiculous parts about this is it's the exact same talking point, propaganda, nonsense, garbage over and over again. It's all of this exact same stuff, which when you start to look at things, you actually understand, when you start to look at the history of things, how verifiably false a lot of their premises are on just a very basic and fundamental level. But that's always what they're counting on, right? They're counting on the masses to be stupid because that's what they've always thought you would be out there. Doesn't matter if it's Marvel Comics fans, D&D fans, Warhammer 40K fans, video game fans, or Wicked fans out there. These elites out there have always thought you were stupid. They thought that they were going to be able to educate you, that they were going to be able to indoctrinate you, that you could not think for yourself and you couldn't see through their obvious lies. Well, it turns out once again, the devil showed his hand way too soon, way too fast, because the majority of the culture has woken up and absolutely rejected all of this kind of spirit of the age garbage out there that Ariana Grande is now putting out there and promoting on her Instagram account right when Wicked 2 is about to drop. And boys and girls, we'll see how much effect this actually has on the box office. But even if it's 10%, that's millions of dollars lost in potential revenue at a time where the box offices are struggling to make a profit, even with Marvel movies. So, me thinks this might not have been the best idea. And at the end of the day, it's like Michael Jordan said, Republicans buy shoes too. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all the juicy details of exactly what kind of propaganda Ariana Grande is using to spout on her personal social media. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,200. We're inching our way towards 23. I think we're sitting at like 2,271, and I could not do that without every single one of you. All leave us a comment in the section down below. Let me know what you think about all this. Does it surprise you at all that Ariana Grande is using her personal social media account to promote the spirit of the age and push this exact same kind of propaganda and lies that we've seen spouted over and over again? Will this make you not want to go see the movie, especially if you're somebody who went and saw the first one? Or can you separate the art from the artist, or are you at a time right now where you're just not willing to support anybody who decides to keep pushing these kind of lies and nonsense? Let us know what you think about all of this in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from our dear sweet Marvin Montanaro over there at thatparkplace.com, boys and girls. just as Universal Pictures begins the delicate rollout in it for its high-stakes blockbuster Wicked for Good, Ariana Grande decided to launch into a political tirade against President Trump and his supporters. The timing couldn't be worse, with Hollywood already watching films sink under the weight of their stars' rhetoric, from Rachel Zegler's disastrous Snow White campaign to Pedro Pascal, Brie Larson, and Anthony Mackie's Marvel flops. Grande's outburst threatens to drag Universal's big money gamble into the culture war crossfire. And honestly, I think there's actually a very good argument to be made that a lot of Pedro Pascal's nonsense out there and all of his agenda pushing absolutely did affect the box office of Fantastic Four. A lot of it also has to do with the decisions that Kevin Feige and the rest of Marvel's executives have made over the last few years that have driven most of the Marvel fans away from their box offices and don't want to watch their movies out there. But Pedro Pascal continuously wading himself into this stuff over and over and over again, besides just the oversaturation of him. And honestly, he's not that great of an actor from everything I've heard. I didn't even bother going to see Fantastic Four at the box office, boys and girls. I still haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll watch it when it finally comes for streaming for something like that. But I'm not that all interested to see it. But from everything I've heard, Pedro Pascal did what he does best. He paid Pedro Pascal, not Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four. So color us shocked there. It's not just his political agenda, but fans are just sick and tired of seeing his face. He's not that good. He's only Hollywood's it boy. He's not the customer's it boy. And guess what? The customers decide what succeeds and what fails, i.e. the summer box office. Grande's outburst threatens to drag Universal's big money gamble into a culture war crossfire. Over the weekend, Grande reshared a post from podcast host Matt Bernstein that grilled Trump voters on whether their lives had improved since he'd returned to office. Now, to be fair, we can do one of two things here. Either Ariana Grande is so lazy in her virtue signaling and her own personal political beliefs that she said to not type this out herself, or she just casually agreed with it and she reposted it, so maybe it shouldn't be that big a deal. Either way, she's responsible for what ends up on her Instagram account. As far as we know, this Instagram account represents her whole cloth and 100%, which means if she's putting this on her social media account without any kind of context or without any kind of comment, then she must obviously agree with it 100%. So, what does Ariana Grande, the star of the Wicked 2, Wicked for Good movie, say and think about Trump supporters? Well, I want to check in with Trump voters. I have one very genuine question. It's been 250 days now that immigrants have been violently removed from their families and communities have been destroyed. Let's fix that real quick. Now that illegal criminals have been removed from the United States of America, a place they were illegally, and have been punished for their crimes, right? Because guess what? I'm sorry. If you've been here illegally for 20 years and you did nothing to correct that because you thought you were just going to be able to keep getting away with it forever, I'm sorry. I don't want to see your family divided. But if your family wants to stay with you, then guess what? They can go back to your country of origin. Okay? That's not our doing. That's your doing. That's the choice you made by violating our laws and coming here illegally. And as a guy who's worked with a lot of legal immigrants, a guy who spent hours at my dining room table busting my butt to help a friend of mine translate things to get his wife here, yeah, I got a real problem with the rest of you cheating and jumping the line. And I'm glad you're gone. Because guess what? Does our system need reforms? Absolutely. I shouldn't have to spend hours at my dining room table helping a buddy of mine translate stuff for an immigration authority system. And then him still have to spend years waiting for it all to get approved. I got a real issue with that whole system. Okay? But guess what? Them's the breaks, them's the laws. You guys aren't out there fighting for actual immigration reform and compromise. No, you're out there whining, crying, and trying to pull on people's heartstrings by going, you're tearing families apart. Yes, the families of criminals. Yes, because under criminal acts, they establish themselves. Was anybody whining when Al Capone's family got broke up, when he got sent to prison for the rest of his life? Was anybody whining about the community that they destroyed that he helped support by putting him in prison? Nope. 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 That was all. Did anybody care about all of the January 6thers out there who in a lot of cases were illegally housed in prison for years and the devastation that had on their family? No. Ariana Grande doesn't care about those people's families. She doesn't care about American families, the country that's made her rich and wealthy and one of the elites out there. No. She cares more about criminals, and in a lot of cases, violent criminals on top of that. How you feeling about going to see Wicked now? Now that trans people have been blamed for virtually everything and live in fear. Well, I mean, one, they don't live in fear. You really want to live in fear? Go live in Iran, North Korea, or China. Secondly, look at all of the violent acts that have happened at schools and in mass public places over the last few years. There's one consistent trend line, and it's the over-medicated, mentally imbalanced by the pharmaceutical companies making massive profits off the backs of the mentally unwell. So remind me who's to blame for all of that again? See how easy it is to tear all of this apart? That's all it takes. That's all it takes. I'm doing this off the top of my head. Anybody who's been around this channel knows for any length of time, none of this is scripted. I do all of this off the cuff, right? That's how we go. And I'm just pulling this stuff out. Now that free speech is on the brink of collapse for us all. This coming from the cancel culture crowd who tore families apart because they didn't agree. They destroyed and devastated families' lives and fathers' and mothers' ability to make an income to support their families. Because of the cancel culture, people like this, people like Ariana Grande supported. Right? See how it all just falls apart real quick? Has your life gotten better? Yes. I'm less worried about dangerous illegal alien criminals on my streets. As the guy that lives close to the border, yeah, my life has gotten a lot better. And I'm sure a lot of my friends that live down in border towns, I'm sure their lives are a whole lot better too. So yeah, but I'm sorry. I mean, of course, as another one of your fellow elites, Ariana Grande, as Kelly Osbourne put it, who's going to clean our toilets and mow our yards? Yeah. Who's suffering again? Oh, I'm sorry you lost your gardener and the lady who took care of your kids while you could ignore them and get drunk all day and go to business meetings and lunch with your friends. I'm sorry you actually have to be a responsible parent and clean your own effing toilet. Oh, has your life gotten harder? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Have your groceries gotten cheaper? Well, I know my eggs never got more expensive than the party that was in power that you supported that decided to slaughter a bunch of chickens unnecessarily, way beyond recommended limits, and cause the egg prices to get jacked up, I don't know, right before an election. I'm sure that wasn't political in any nature whatsoever. So you want to talk about grocery prices again? Has your health insurance premium gone down? Thanks, Obamacare. Talk to a nurse that's been around since prior to Obamacare and after. What exactly caused all those high insurance costs? That's right, government regulation. Has your work-life balance improved? Yes. I'm actually forcing myself to take a Sabbath every week and actually get some rest and not work 7 days a week and spend some more time with my family. I actually spent majority of the day with my wife yesterday and my two youngest. That was really nice. So yeah, that part is, yeah. Can you take a vacation yet? Well, I got more money. I still can't take a vacation. I couldn't take a vacation 4 years ago either. But I'm certainly got a little bit more in my pocket now than what I did before. By the way, how are them gas prices going? Are you happier? Yes, I am. But apparently Ariana Grande isn't. Has the widespread suffering of others paid off for you in the way he promised it would? Or are you still waiting? See what it is? It's all just virtue signaling and empathy lies. That's all any of this ever is. Because at the end of the day, you can literally tear apart all of this nonsense. Are things better in California? No, they lost all their slaves. Yeah, I said it. That's all the illegal immigrants were to these people ever. That's all they ever were to the Democratic Party. New slave labor, right? That's why they kept them illegal. Because they didn't want an actual path to citizenship. Because that would require us cutting off the pipeline, right? 10 years ago, I was down for that. Cut off the pipeline. Let's deal with everybody here. We'll figure it out. They still go to the back of the line, and everybody that's been waiting patiently outside our gate comes in first. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt to deport that many people. But you know who would never come to the table? People like Ariana Grande, the Wicked 2-star. Because that was never what it was meant to be. It was all about continuing to make sure that their pipeline of slave labor kept getting pumped into this country. Because if you made them actual citizens, then you had to actually pay them a fair wage. You actually had to give them health insurance. You had to do all those things that wouldn't make them cheap slave labor for California elites anymore. Weird concept how all of a sudden when their serfs are threatened, they change their tune. The post feature above also referenced ICE raids. The White House didn't ignore it. They pounced. Spokesman Kush Desai clapped back with trolling precision in a statement to EW, Entertainment Weekly, that quoted her own music. Save your tears, Ariana, because President Trump's actions ended Joe Biden's inflation crisis and are bringing in trillions in new investments. Now, I can't sing this for you because I don't think if I've ever heard an Ariana Grande song, it was by sheer accident. And I couldn't identify one if you put a gun to my head. So I'm just going to give this the best poetry I can for you. He even signed an executive order, just like magic, that paved the way for the FTC to crack down on Ticketmaster for ripping off Ariana Grande's concert-going fans. Get well soon, Ariana. That's right. That's exactly what they've done, because a lot of us complained about Ticketmaster for a long time about this nonsense and that garbage. So literally, the Trump White House is doing more to put more money back into Ariana Grande's own fans' pockets than her virtue signaling ever will. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. It's virtue signaling by an activist out there who is just lazily making sure that she proves she's one of the in crowd, that she's one of the cult. Hey, here's my cult card. Look. Obligatory, mandatory virtue signal. I reposted something. I'm one of you, right? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, I'm going back to my my pedicure with my my illegal Mexican slave labor cleaning my toilet. Bye! With just a few lines, the administration turned her critique into a punchline and made sure the feud would dominate headlines. Grande's political activism isn't new, but this specific moment is unique. She's not just a pop star, she's the lead of Universal's most ambitious musical in years. Wicked for Good is the second half of the studio's mega gamble to split the Broadway juggernaut into two films. The first was a hit, but sequels always carry added risk. Disney's Snow White remake serves as a textbook cautionary tale. Rachel Ziegler's comments attacking the original film and wading into politics turned what should have been a nostalgic draw into a lightning rod. The movie never recovered with audiences. And you could blame it on race swapping and stuff like that, but even that did not have anywhere near the effect of what Rachel Ziegler's own actions and activism had on it. Don't believe me? Guess what? Little Mermaid actually broke $500 million, right? And guess what? Halle Bailey was nothing but sweet and reverent for not only the original source material and the fans. I never had a bad word to say about the girl. We did extensive amounts of videos over Rachel Ziegler specifically, more than what I want to remember. Universal now faces a similar risk by choosing this moment to rail against Trump boners, half the American electorate, over half. Grande has ensued the Wicked for Good won't be judged as a movie. It'll be judged as a political statement. We're in an era where audiences are already turning away from Hollywood. Major studio films have bombed the last several years, often with the same refrain. The stars alienated potential viewers before the movie even hit theaters. The White House gains. Trump's team scored an easy win. Ariana Grande loses. She may earn applause from a progressive fan base, but she is now guaranteed herself as a partisan figure during the rollout. Every press junket, every interview will circle back to politics instead of the film. And that's exactly what we saw happen, right? Where we're just waiting for the Hollywood Reporter's regular old reporter to ask what he always asks. Is this the gayest version of Wicked ever? Just like, is this the gayest version of Star Wars? Is this the gayest version of Marvel? You know, God forbid you ask, is it the most comic book accurate? Does it represent the characters well? Does it represent the source material well? Does it do courtesy to the legacy? Does it make the fans and customers happy? No. So this is always the problem with this, because now she's opened herself up to this by putting this on her own social media account. We know how the Hollywood media is. They try to turn everything into politics instead of just being about the actual good or bad movie that people are going to go see. So she's going to get asked about this, especially with the fact that the White House responded. You've now put yourself in the crosshairs that this movie otherwise wouldn't have been in. Right? Because I knew the first Wicked movie was going to be a success. I have friends in that fan base. I know how rabid they are. Honestly, the biggest surprise out of me for the Wicked movie was that it didn't make more money. Okay? But nonetheless, just like every other fan base out there, there are people from both sides with both opinions, which is why you should not alienate either side. Hollywood has still not learned that alien audiences with political grandstanding rarely ends well. Grande's choice to engage in partisan attacks on the eve of the biggest project of her acting career is not just ill-advised, it could be financially catastrophic for Universal if the movie underperforms. And that's really what it comes down to, right? How much effect do I really think that is this going to have on the box office? Well, this is just the start. This is just a spark that could light a fire that could turn into a giant blaze. And honestly, it all just depends on a couple of different things. One of which is, and I think you can pretty much guarantee this, is if the media asks her about this on the press tour, right? With the activists that have infested the majority of Hollywood's reporting system out there, right? Their legacy media, more than likely she is going to get asked about this. She is going to get asked about how she feels about this the same way James Gunn got asked about that stuff on the red carpet of Superman, even though he had done his absolute best to avoid all of that. And it was literally one line taken out of context by a bunch of talking head pundits on the right that caused it to where I got a question at my church about whether or not James Gunn's new movie was going to be woke, right? This is what starts all of this. Because once this kind of narrative once this genie is out of the bottle, it's too little too late. So the next factor of that is going to be, how is Ariana Grande going to respond to these reporters? Because if she doubles down, right, if she decides to use the red carpet to continue to push this agenda, we know exactly what will happen. We've seen it happen 1,000,000 times before. Remember Eternals? It's gonna save lives. Well, it certainly didn't save any jobs after all the massive layoffs Marvel's gone through over the last few years. But if she's smart, and I'm not actually expecting Ariana Grande to be that, she will sidestep these questions. She will do the very smart thing, like Ilan Vellani has done, star of the miserably failed television show Miss Marvel. She asked a question like this, completely and totally sidestepped it. Henry Cavill, fans are just fans line, right? There are so many people who know how to navigate this properly. Because if Ariana Grande does not, and she decides to double down on her politics and use the red carpet and the rest of the press tour, and every time she's asked this question to push her propaganda and to promote the things that she clearly believes in, then we know exactly what will happen. I said it at the beginning of this video, and I'll say it again right now. It's like when Michael Jordan was asked about this in the 90s. Republicans buy shoes too. And at the end of the day, that's all he was there for. He was there to play ball and sell shoes. And that's all any of these people should ever be out there for. Do you want to have your political stuff? Can you have your political opinions? Absolutely. Have at it. But the problem was, for far too long, the culture as a whole tolerated it. Oh, it's just that crazy Hollywood. It's all the leftist nonsense. They're always spouting it, whatever. I loved him in that movie. The problem was, It moved beyond just the virtue signaling, just the talking points, whose presidential dinner you went to, what organization you were fundraising to. Because then it started infesting all of the storytelling. And we saw what happened there. The Marvel Now initiative, what happened to DC, what happened to Snowflake and Safe Space. You know, all of this stuff out there, we saw what happens. It all burns down in flames as soon as it affects the storytelling. We saw the backlash Games Workshop got over the female custody and their horrible response to fans over that, right? We know how this goes, which is why if you're a smart entertainer and your only goal is to create something entertaining that appeals to the masses, you stay the hell out of politics. But in the world we currently live in, where either you bow down to the cult and virtue signal or you stay silent, and a lot of the cases, if you stay silent, they'll just assume you're a conservative and you'll lose everything anyway, then this is the world we live in. And Ariana Grande has decided literal moments, weeks, days before Wicked 2 comes out to make sure that the whole world knows her political opinions. And guess what? This ain't your mom and dad's White House anymore. You got a whole new generation in there that they are going to clap back and they are going to push back. They understand how the culture operates and they are invested in the culture war. And this kind of stuff will no longer be allowed to quietly go away. You will hear from them. You will hear from us. The world will know what you said, and it will affect your box office. The only question is now, how are they going to handle this going forward, and how much of effect it will end up having? Because it will have some effect. Because after all, Ariana Grande, you dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. And now, by your own actions and your own refusal to stay silent, you will get burned. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.